So welcome everyone, and welcome to this webinar on using and building your AI usage in your business. So my hope is that you get a good base understanding of what AI is, and you get some good ideas on how you can start evolving your business. And this is the big thing with AI. It's a total business change, and that's what will be happening from now for the next, X amount of years. It's about how you can use AI in all of your business, but it's also using it in the right way. So I won't be going into the actual tools, as we've only got about half an hour to an hour today. So I'm really going to be talking more of an overview and hopefully giving you guys some ideas on how you can use AI rather than specific tools to use AI. And the main thing is it's not about replacing your team with AI. It's about helping them supercharge their performance. So ultimately, your business will become more effective, more efficient, but it's not necessarily about basically getting rid of all of your people and just replacing them with AI bots and things. So, and a quick disclosure alert as well: AI is constantly evolving. It can be easy to get overwhelmed, and I want to go through and give you a good overview, because as I said, there's thousands of tools and you've just got to be really careful, because as with everything in life, not everything is necessarily as good as it seems, and there's a lot of bogus tools out there that effectively just want to get access to your data and systems. So do just be cautious, because if you do go down the rabbit hole of trying to look for AI tools, you'll realize that there are literally thousands and thousands of websites and tools. So and we will be having a Q&A session at the end, so if you've got any questions, please do ask them throughout, and then when we get to the end, I'll try and cover them off. So first of all, let's talk about the different types of AI. So first of all, when we say AI, we're talking about general AI. Now, you might have heard of ASI, which is the artificial super intelligence. That is coming, but don't worry. And for what you guys are going to be using it for, it makes no difference. It just means that its ability and bandwidth will be bigger in the future. So yeah, it's general AI. But what are the types that you need to know? Now, first of all, you need to understand that AI effectively uses what's called a large language model. So that means it uses a data set. It doesn't just go onto the internet, randomly find what it wants, and then comes back. It's all about its main data set. But there's two types. So the first is generative AI. So this means that that's where you ask it questions. So the most famous one is ChatGPT. You ask it questions and then it's prompt driven. So that means you ask a question, the more detailed the question, the better the answer and the response that it gives you. Then there's agentic AI, and this is where it works continuously. So this is more of the sort of the AI of the future that you'd think, where it's constantly learning and it improves on itself. So the more you use it, the more prompts and information you give it, the better it gets. So that's a sort of a base level understanding of when we talk about AI, there's effectively two types, generative and agentic. Now, when we talk about tools, this is also really important to understand, because when you're choosing what areas of your business you want to improve, you then need to understand what type of tools it is. And this is also where a lot of the confusion can happen. So there are only two really types of tool, which is one is macro, which is very large, your open AIs, your sort of the biggest ones, obviously ChatGPT, and then you've also got so other big ones that are coming out, DeepSeek, Gemini, which is Google's version. You've got Claude. So these are really large models that you can kind of ask it any question and it will look at its big data set and it will come back with the answers that it thinks you want. Whereas micro or niche tools, this is really tools that you're investing in that do a specific job. So for example, you might think, right, I want help with clearing down my emails every day. So you would look at a micro AI tool to perform that one task. as opposed to a bigger, wider spread thing like ChatGPT. So that's the thing. So when you're, as I say, looking at things to do and tasks that you want to be done by AI or help with AI, it's really important that you just always sense check it with, is this a micro tool? So is it just going to do the one job, or is it more of a macro tool? So that will hopefully help you to think about, they're not all AI. Some people can get a bit confused and think AI is AI. It's not. It's lots of different types of it. But this is why, just to keep it really simple, big tools which you can ask questions and it will answer pretty much everything. It kind of knows everything. It's a sort of a Google-esque. Or you've got your micro niche tools that are just very good at doing that one specific task or working with one area in your business. So okay, so what parts of your business could or should you be using AI tools in? Now, I just want to really quickly touch on the positives and the negatives before we really look at the different areas that we can start using AI in your business. So first of all, positives, obviously, anything that's a repetitive task, AI is amazing at. And when we say amazing, it's because if it's the same task that you want done, for example, it might be an element in your business at the moment where you want a specific thing, whether it's a report created or whether it's a load of envelopes printed, whatever element it is that you want done repetitively. The reason that AI is so good is because you can teach it and show it what you want it to do, and then it will always do it that way. So it's really, really good for that. So anything that you want consistently done that's relatively straightforward, AI is fantastic. So any areas in your business that you've currently got that's where you can really look at it. Negatives. Now, this is where you've got to be really careful. Now, the first thing is that AI hallucinates. It thinks that it's answering the right question, but often it can give the wrong answers. And obviously, where you've got different types of questions that you're going to be asking it, some are factual, they're an absolute, whereas others, there could potentially be lots of different answers. Now, as we see AI evolving, this is really, so showed it earlier, there's ChatGPT, but there's ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT 5 that's coming. The big difference with these larger tools is that the newer versions, what they effectively do is start to have conversations with themselves so that they basically. So for example, you could, with some of the tools, you'd say, hi, what color is the sky today? And it might say, it will just come back in seconds and say, the sky's blue. Whereas with the newer types of AI, you'll see a conversation with itself where it will say, well, it depends what time of day it is, it depends what country, it depends, etc., etc., etc. And you'll see it actually start asking itself its questions. And this is where it's stopping that hallucination, because that is one of the biggest problems with what we're seeing with AI at the moment. So they are really reducing that. The other thing is that it can repeat itself, and often it doesn't always understand what you want. But this is often that old adage of the better the question you ask and the more detailed you ask, the better the response it's going to give. So just be really mindful on that sometimes you may need to give it much bigger prompts. And the thing is with the prompts, a lot of these tools, and there's always questions of should you pay for whether it's ChatGPT or other tools. Often what you want to start doing is creating those prompts, and so then when you go back into using the tool, you can really quickly click on it where you've already created that prompt where you've said, for example, I'm a male, aged X, live in whichever country, this is the business that I'm in, this is my ideal client. You can write all of that once, and then when you next go to use it, you can select that. So it's already going to have that background basis information. And that's That's the thing with these big macro tools, as opposed to the niche tools, which are just going to do the job that you want within your business. So which areas in your business can you really start to use it? Now, the first one, and what we'd say probably the easiest, is from a marketing perspective, because this is where you're probably going to create new things. But what marketing tools and what things within your business can you use? So first of all, we're saying that good things are things like contact forms, chat tools, if you need ideas for content. So often, you know that you need to create content, you want to put posts on social media, but often it's difficult to sort of think, oh, where am I going to come up with the ideas? Whereas the nice thing is, with using in one of these larger tools, you can go on and say, what are the top 20 content ideas at the moment for X, Y, and Z in your category? Then it will just give you some really good ideas. And you can also then start bouncing ideas back off of it, saying, can you make the title punchier? Can you, do X, Y, and Z? Now, what I would say is that you need to be really careful when we talk about content, because there's two types of content that you'll be creating. Now, if it's something on social media and it's relatively quick, short, sharp content that will disappear within days, then using AI is pretty much okay. What you don't ever want to do, though, is use AI for creating anything on your website or anything long term. The reason is the power of, say, Google and Bing is them as a search engine. They need to know that they are giving people the right answers, and that they are giving people and suggesting the best websites. So if you fill your website up with AI created content, Google will know that it's just full of AI. And it will literally just hit your ranking, and it won't show anyone, because it will know that you're not an authority, and that you're not giving any fresh ideas and guidance. Now, AI is working in both ways, in that, for example, on social media, LinkedIn used to have an algorithm where it was searching the different posts, and you used to have to use hashtags so that you could point the LinkedIn algorithm to say, this is what I'm talking about. Whereas now, LinkedIn doesn't use hashtags, because it's now using AI in itself for searching content. It is able to search all through the content that people are talking about, and then make up its own mind on how relevant and useful this is, and then pushing it out to other people. So you've just got to be really careful on what AI content you're using. Often we use it as the analogy that AI is great for kind of baking a cake. So you've got your main cake, so use AI to come up with that ideas, but then you should be the one that's icing the cake and making it look in its own unique way. So that's why you could use AI for coming up with giving you lots of ideas, but then you can maybe tweak the content itself. But here's an example of using marketing. So let's look at LinkedIn. At the moment, you might think, actually, I need to be more relevant on LinkedIn, and I want to get out to more and more people. So you might currently sit down on LinkedIn and go and search for different people. And that might take you, let's say, for example, it takes you an hour to find 20 people. Whereas let's look at using AI. So an example would be, you can build your list. You can normally do that within Sales Navigator on LinkedIn. That list, you can build a list of, say, 1,000 people within about 5 minutes by selecting the different things. That's the most work you're going to do. Because then what you can do is you can use certain AI tools. For example, we use Phantom Buster. Seems pretty good. And what that will then do is it will then grab that list of 1,000 people, not 20 people that you're normally used to doing in 1 hour, 1,000 people. It will then grab that list, and you can do things like, right, go and find that list look at what company they work for and follow the company. Then 2 days later, do a connection request with the MD of the business or the owner or the founder, whatever it is. Write them a personalized message that includes their company name, their name, and something about their profile. So you'll do the connection request with a personalized message, then do a reply to the message if they respond to it. If they don't respond, in 3 days later, send them another message. And you can do all of this within seconds of your time, and it will do that task perfectly every time because you set it up in that way. And that's why I talk about, that's a niche tool to really get the most out of that one thing. So we've gone from spending an hour on LinkedIn where you're manually going to invite 20 people to under 15 minutes where you're going to invite 1,000 people, and it's going to be a sequence that's going to run over the next 15 days, but it will take you no time at all. And this is the power with using the right tools, so the right AI tools. So as we're looking at what can and can't you do with AI, certain specific tasks like that are really, really simple, and they are perfect for using AI tools. So main thing with content and ideas is use AI as much as possible, but then just make sure you shape it and that you put your spin on it. Especially depends on which part of the world you're from. You know, you need to make sure that you're speaking in your language. Because often, I don't know if you've ever received an email or a message and it's, you know, suddenly it's 20 pages long, and it's very kind of generic-y speech. That means that it's been created in AI and no one's actually, you know, looked at it and corrected it, or the command that they've given it hasn't been long enough. So you can give it so many different commands, but it really is about supercharging what you're doing. So you know, you just need to make sure that there's different things. Another tip as well, which is really good, if you are giving ChatGPT prompts, try and give it some education. So when you go on and you say, for example, we could say, you know, we're an IT business based in the UK. You want to say, we are Syn-Star, the UK's best IT support business. And believe it or not, the more it gets told that, the more it will start to believe it. And this is where some of the little tricks and tips are starting to come out with AI, that you can actually start to persuade, because as I've said, with the newer forms of AI, there's much more deep conversation within itself. And this is where it's going to give just better answers. So yeah, just a little tip, start telling AI that you are the best and it will start to believe you after a while. So let's go through some other tasks, as I say, because we are going to get to our Q&A, but some other tasks. So admin is a fantastic one. Even if it's just basic things like note taking, normally you can integrate them into tools that you've already got. For example, if you use Teams or Zoom or even voice to text. So for example, if you have a face-to-face meeting, you can even record the voice or you record the actual meeting itself. And the cool thing with the AI is it will pick up the different voices and then it will create a transcript, and you can even then ask it questions about the meeting. So for example, what were the tasks that I agreed to do? What was the date I agreed to do the tasks? And it will then actually put that into whichever format you want. And you can even ask it, whichever tasks I said I was going to do and by which date, can you please create me a calendar note to be able to save them in my calendar? And it will create them as a calendar note. So there really is so many different ways you can use it. Another thing is email. Now, this is a tricky one in terms of just be really careful if you start getting it to reply to your emails and send emails, because again, the language model is still in its infancy. But it can be really good for cleaning your mailbox. So for example, you can start to teach it when an email comes in and it's bogus, you can start to teach it. Similar to how you can use in Outlook, where you can create rules and mark things as spam, you can do it that way, but it can just do a little bit more around it. So it can be really good for that. The other thing you can use with emails is you can create sequences. So an example would be you get an inbound inquiry with a certain keyword. It will then understand the sequence of emails to send back. So you would send an email back, but then 3 days later, a different one, different angles and things to use emails. So that can be a really good, efficient tool. And again, we're talking about, its ability to be able to do things better than other people. Depending on what business you're in, it may be best that you still. However, as AI evolves, it's definitely something that we should start to look at doing within the business. Next one is around data. Now, remember, it's amazing for handling huge data. So searching and reporting, it can be really good for sense checking your data. So making sure whether there's any errors in it, cleansing your data, deleting certain things that you don't need. But also where it can be really good is, for example, if you've got data that is on a spreadsheet, for example, it's really good for being able to turn that into a dashboard. And then you can run the sequence on it where you can say, can you please update this dashboard every 10 minutes or 10 hours, whichever it is you need. So for the data side, it can be really, really good. Customer service. Now, be careful on this one. We all know how frustrating it is to get stuck into a queue when we're trying to phone someone or on a chat bot. So just be really careful, because what you don't want is for AI to take away from your customer experience. So just be really, really careful, and also make sure that there's always a get out clause for the person. So, for example, if you get stuck in an AI chatbot when you just need help on someone's website, make sure that you put a little comment in there saying, if you type in help, we will put you through to a human, for example. So that's a really good way of showing that you're using AI, but then you can still get a human interaction. Whereas it's not rating than if you're trying to get help and you're just going round and round in circles talking to a chatbot that doesn't really understand what your issue is. So yeah, just be really careful. We want AI to improve your business, not to reduce it and to frustrate your customers. The other thing as well you can do is with phone systems. So this is really, really a lot of development happening at the moment. If you're in an industry that's for compliance purposes, so for example, insurance, mortgages, finance, anything like that, an AI phone system can effectively record and monitor all the calls, make sure that people are always asking the right questions, that they're covering off compliance. It can then also monitor for how upbeat and happy the person was. All of these different tools, they're really becoming more and more prevalent. So, it can be a really good way. And the final bit that's really interesting is around recruitment. So it can scan CVs much faster and pick out the relevant experience and where they're based geographically and all of those kind of things that you would manually do at the moment to find the right applicants. It can then send invitations, it can schedule interviews, and you can even do screening interviews for the applicants. So, there's lots of different ways that you can use AI within recruitment. So they're kind of 5 ways plus the marketing that you can really look at areas within your business. And of course, remember that you've also got tools within your tools. So for example, you may have a marketing CRM system at the moment, and that may already have AI. If you're using Microsoft 365, there's Copilot that's built within that. And as I say, with these tools, they're often niche tools within the product. So you can start using Copilot if you're already using Microsoft. So these are really different tools that you can just start to look at. How can you supercharge those areas of your business? So if we go into the do's and don'ts of AI, first of all, train and keep training, adapt and learn. AI, the worst AI is ever going to be is today. It is constantly evolving. The best employees of the future are going to be the ones that know how to use AI and leverage their time to get the absolute best result. Make it a part of everything. Make it a part of your onboarding process, but educating your team. The second do is make sure that your company owns the data, not someone else. So a recent example, Samsung, they had someone in their patent office that was using ChatGPT to create a patent document to patent a product. They then used ChatGPT. They went on to ChatGPT. They uploaded the patent documents. They then asked ChatGPT lots of different questions. Then someone else asked ChatGPT some questions, and they were then shown and offered the Samsung private confidential documents, because the person at Samsung didn't understand the rule. And the rule is anything you give to ChatGPT or these free AI, it becomes theirs. It's no longer yours. That's part of the reason that you can use it for free. So just be really, really careful of what data you share and give to ChatGPT, because once it's theirs, it's theirs. It's never coming back to be yours. So just be really, really careful. But as I say, it's about educating people and making sure that they understand that. Train your teams and do try different tools. But as I say, hopefully now you understand the fact that you've got the big tools like ChatGPT that can be connected and drive other ones, or you've got your smaller niche tools. And this is where, look at your business from a high level. What areas could we leverage AI, and then start to look at the different ways you can do it. And as I say, there's also ways that you can connect different AI agents and chatbots. So there's different areas with that. And then the don't. So again, don't put confidential data into it. It's their data, it's not yours as soon as you do it. If you create your own data set, then it's yours and you're just using the model. Set it up and don't ever just set it up and leave it. Constantly check. So I said, it often hallucinates. It can often go on a different tangent. If you're using it where it's collaborating with different tools, it could potentially go off on a completely different tangent. So you just need to make sure that you're constantly checking it. And then obviously don't allow them access to your data. So if you do look at different tools, and for example, it might say, connect it to your emails, then effectively you could be allowing them access to your entire email. So you just need to be really, really careful who it is that you're trusting with your AI tools and all of the data. So yeah, cool. Okay, so then as we look at the future, what is the future? So as I've alluded to, the worst AI is today. It is constantly evolving. So where will we be? So first of all, there's hundreds and hundreds of AI bots that are being developed. Now let's have a look at just this will work. So if you've got lots of different niche tools, let's say, for example, you're looking at building a house and there's different steps involved in that. You could use AI to do so much more of it. An example would be you can use AI for planning. You can use AI to really get all of the schematics of the ground area and everything. Then you can use AI as an estate agent to tell you property values and things. You can use an AI bot to get you to go and find the best loan rates. You can then use AI to research into different areas. So you're using all these different types of AI niche bots within itself. So you'd have all these different things set up, and they're really, really good at their small tasks. They go off and do it, come back and give the information. Then you can do things like the next step, which would be your AI for architectural drawings, your AI that goes off and discusses with the council the different permits and things you need, the AI that talks to your developers. You'd have an AI tool watching the cash flow as the project's being built. You'd use AI to go and find you the best machine hire. You'd use AI to calculate the cost of the materials, the cost of, the building, and then working out the entire lifespan. So all of these things you can use different AI tools with. So it's really, really powerful to understand where is AI, and it can be huge. It can go across so many different areas within your business, but often we're not saying that these would replace and do a better job. It's just that, for example, if it's a cash flow forecast of a project, then why wouldn't you use AI? Because the consistency is so good once you've got it doing exactly what you want it to do. And this is the big thing. But yeah, basically the future next quarter is going to be is when ChatGPT 5 is released, and as I say, a really big part is that it's going to be talking to itself much more, and this is where it's just going to keep evolving and keep evolving. And the main thing is, I would say, is you just need to just start to use it. Within the next 5 or 10 years is where all businesses will be using AI of sorts, but my main advice is to just start using it now. But just small things. Just look at the task that you're doing, and if you're doing a repetitive task, think, actually, is there an AI tool that could do this better? What things do you get stuck on in your roles? Often, as I've said, with marketing, if you want to write 10 blogs in a month, the first 2 are relatively, you've got those ideas. But then as you get towards 5, 6, 7, you then get stuck for ideas. Whereas you can go on to something like ChatGPT and say, give me some ideas, and it will suddenly give you 50 different ideas. So, and that's the thing. It's all about supercharging your existing performance. So, so that's all I wanted to talk about in terms of for this webinar. As I say, we will have Q&A, and I know that I've seen a few questions coming through. Yeah, this is how to connect with me if you've got any questions. As I say, I am not here to sell you any type of AI tools. This is purely just to help you using AI more in your business, because the best employees and the best businesses are going to be the ones that adopt AI. And this is what it's all about. Just start using it. If you're not sure, it's really there. There's so many different tools. As I say, I specifically didn't want to speak about tools today, because we would literally be here for about another 3 hours. So yeah, as I say, do connect with me. Find me on LinkedIn. We're always doing hopefully pushing out some really interesting content on there. So questions. Let's have a look at what we've got come through. So first question, should I pay for ChatGPT? Yes, really is the answer, in terms of the additional you get and the ability to connect it with other tools. And that's really the power of it. So an example would be, you could use ChatGPT. You first of all create a prompt. You'd use ChatGPT to give an answer. So let's say you receive an email in from someone and they're asking certain questions. You can then use ChatGPT and again, it needs to be a decent sized script, where you would have that full prompt on how it should answer. And this is where you would say, things like the tone of voice. Should it be comical? Should it be in British English or American? Lots of different things, but you give it that prompt, and then every time you get an inbound inquiry, it can then look and send a response to it. Now, as I've said, don't just create it and off it goes. Make sure that you're constantly sort of checking and making sure that it hasn't gone off. But this is where, as I say, paying for ChatGPT. Also, as well, there is limitations on ChatGPT. So, for example, I think at the moment, 3 images per day within a 24-hour cycle is all you're allowed on ChatGPT on the free version. Whereas if you pay for it, you just get a lot more that you can do with it. So there's definitely limitations, but I'd say to begin with, just to sort of start using it, you know, it can be the free version is pretty good. I personally quite like DeepSeek. The reason I like DeepSeek is because I just find that the answers it gives is a slightly better. And again, DeepSeek uses more of a deep understanding whereby it will question itself before it gives the answer. And it's quite nice when you see the questioning, because it helps you learn to ask better questions and do better prompts. So we've got a question. Is it possible to use any AI platform for confidential work without sharing own data? Yes. So effectively, you can create your own GPTs. Is the thing you can, and again, this is where, not sure if you guys saw about a month or two ago when effectively AI was the big OpenAI, sorry, the company that owns ChatGPT, that obviously the biggest investor in that is Microsoft. Hence why ChatGPT uses Bing. So we need to make sure that from a SEO perspective, you're very up on Bing, because ChatGPT looks at Bing's data set first. So what we'll see on there is that NVIDIA suddenly become the world's most valuable company, because OpenAI and the ChatGPT dataset uses massive amounts of data processing power, whereas then along come a guy from China, I think, and spent 5 million quid on creating DeepSeek, and the processing power that it uses is like a tenth of what ChatGPT uses. So this is all really good stuff, because it means that we can effectively start using the technology. But also what will happen, and is definitely happening at the moment, is you can have your own, effectively your own server, which will have all your data on it, and it will be using the technology. So yeah, definitely it's there, it's available now, and it's definitely going to be something for the future. And also, if you really get into this, this is where you can really start creating more IP and more value for your business. Because imagine if someone comes to look and buy your business and you say, well, actually, we've got this entire data set, AI tools, running a big chunk of the business is going to be so much more valuable. So again, looking at the exit part of your business, definitely building out your own AI IP is, you know, really going to be worthwhile, we think. Right. Let's have a look. We've advised our people to use Copilot instead of ChatGPT, as we believe it's more secure and private, as linked to our Office 365. Is this correct? Yes, basically. As a AI in itself, and certainly Copilot doesn't use it's not open access to the internet, but it is constantly being by the internet, and this is the thing. But yeah, certainly ChatGPT, I mean, sorry, Copilot, but you do still have to be careful with Copilot, because it is Microsoft's, it's not yours. It's the same with your Microsoft 365 data. It's not yours, it's theirs. You pay to use the tools, but they don't guarantee the data. Hence why if you were to get hacked and all of your emails were lost, you can't go to Microsoft and say, give it back to me, because it was never yours. That's not what you're paying for. But certainly the tools. But yes. Okay. Office 365 already has our SharePoint and emails. So is it more trusted? Again, yes, is the thing. I mean, with Copilot, you have to pay for it. So it's more your data set, and that yes, it is more protected. But just remember, anything that's accessible online, I'm always going to be hesitant to say it is 100% safe, because of the world we're in. Remember as well, AI is massively supercharged from the opposite side of the world as well. Opposite side being the way that hackers are hacking people now is being supercharged by using AI tools. So you've just got to be really careful. Is anything 100% safe is the question. And any of these large scale models, you know, it does still pull the data. Right, if you're using an AI email plugin, i.e. sending cold outreach emails from your Outlook, does this pose a security risk? If so, how can you mitigate? Great question. So yes, it can be a security risk, but it depends what data set they're using. So there's again different chatbots, different tools for emails. So for example, it's whether the tool is fully integrated within your Microsoft 365 or your Gmail, or is it just a tool that filters your emails? So because effectively the way emails work is you've got the outside world, then you've got your domain, and then from there it's whatever you point to it. So for example, if you've got a spam filter, it will go from the domain to the spam filter, then it will go into your emails. So you can get tools that are just going to more filter everything, or you can actually get them integrated. But the answer is yes, there is potentially a security risk, but this is where you just need to be really careful on what tools you're using. And this is where we would just recommend, and we don't necessarily recommend anything because we think it's but Copilot again is going to be a secure, trusted AI tool. And this is the thing, you can actually search if tools are trusted and if they're properly registered, but yeah, you do just need to sense check what the tool is the thing. So but yeah, is anything 100% safe? Not necessarily, but definitely Copilot is, because it's a part of Microsoft. You know that it's safe, and the way the tool accesses the data. So right, what else have we got? What's the difference between a chat bot and an AI agent? Here we go. So effectively, chat bots is what you'll hear a lot about. Now, these are the sort of the micro niche tools, but the main thing is with a chat bot is that they follow a command. So you write, whether it's a script or give it some kind of workflow, and it will just stay within its boundaries of doing that. You tell it, right, go off and do A, B, C, and then come back and give me an answer that is D, E, F. And that's all it will do. It will just go off and do A, B, C, come back and give you D, E, F. That's it. It's very static in its approach, but that's great because you can kind of trust that it's just going to do what it does. Whereas an AI agent, this is more kind of generative AI. So what that means, and again, generative as in it will understand, respond, but it's kind of got its own brain that it will sort of do a bit more thinking. So you just need to be careful because sometimes, as I say, it might go off on a tangent and it will give a stupid answer or the wrong answer and things like that. So yeah, it's just more about AI agents are kind of more thinkers. But as we move more through AI and the development of AI, it will be more AI agents. But again, depending on what it is. But yeah, chatbots and AI agents. The whole thing is as we move into the future, what we do know is that a modern business might be using 2, 3, 4, 500 different AI bots, agents in some form. Because remember as well, a lot of the technology that you're currently using is AI. An example would be the gaming industry. Currently, they have to build an entire game. They have to do every scene. Whereas what they're now building is AI generated games, which means they only need to build the first hour, because then as you're playing the game, it will create its own as you go along. So effectively, it's an infinite game. It will constantly change for the user. It will be creating itself. And this is the thing where AI's got so much potential, but on the flip side, you've just got to be really careful because it could go down a bit of a rabbit hole. Could be the issue. So, okay, I think that's all the questions. Unless anyone else has got any questions. So say main thing is start just having a play with it. If you're not sure, I'll put my contact details back on the screen actually. So again, do connect with me on LinkedIn if you're not already connected. But yeah, just put all your eggs in one basket and essentially, yeah, get yourself in a bit of a jam where AI starts losing you clients and takes away from the customer experience of your business. But get your teams using it, get them really comfortable with, if they're about to do a task, can they get AI to do the task better and more consistently? And that's really the big thing to sort of take away from AI. So thank you very much for your time. Hope you enjoyed it, and enjoy the rest of your day.